Hi, today I'm here with my good friend Kevin Drummond, who I've known since law school. Fun story. Kevin actually met me when I was a shy law student. It was our first day of school, and ever since we've been the best of friends. I've been with him through his journey of becoming an excellent attorney. You couldn't ask for a better probate attorney in the state of Florida to handle your family's needs. He has a level of integrity and professionalism that exceeds bar none. Today, we're going to just talk a little bit about how the firm got started, what makes Kevin an excellent attorney, and why he's so passionate about the law. So, Kevin, can you actually go into the story of how you started Blue Line Law Firm, especially considering the fact that you do have a background with being a police officer?
Yes, I would more than welcome like to, but I just need a moment of silence for that beautiful opening that you just gave me. It really touched my soul. So I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome, but it's true. I mean, we've known each other for a really long time, so.
Yes, we have. We have. We've been through a lot of lots at law school. But so your question is why did I start Blue Line Law Firm
Yeah.
and why it is? Well, I started with Blue Line Law Firm just because of my background as being in law enforcement. You know, it's always a pursuit of justice and happiness and a sense of making people content and satisfied with giving them a product that they need or a service that's provided to them that is something like making sure that what has to be done is done with the utmost and like best privacy we can possibly give, if that makes sense. Probate is not the big showboat kind of personal injury and so forth. It's really helping people during their time of needs and really trying to make sense of people's estate, because it's not pre-planned when the day you pass and how you're going to do stuff. Whether you're in the middle of a mortgage, whether you're making payments on a settlement, or you're opening a new business, and someone has to resolve that. Someone has to protect your family. Someone has to protect your kids, your descendants. And those are important things. So why I did that, I did it when I was in law enforcement. That's kind of where my calling came to serve, and I brought that over into now being an attorney. So.
Awesome. And I know throughout the years you've seen a lot with families that are in crisis and they're giving you a call. Is there any particular story that really stands out to you?
Yes, actually, yeah, there is a story that stands out to me. I'm going to change out the names and the situation so that it doesn't allude to anyone, but I still think it's open on a criminal aspect.
Yeah.
But I have had a client that helped, and we crafted his estate plan for quite a while. He was an older gentleman. He lived in the northern part of Florida, and we would always stay in communications. And he had some episodes of some mental issues during COVID, so his health was deteriorating. But he wanted to make sure he'd take care of his new child that he had with a woman that he had planned to marry. He wanted to marry her at a specific time and a place and the whole environment and so forth, like at Walt Disney and so forth, Mickey Mouse. So it was really cute.
Have you ever seen a wedding at Walt Disney World? It's
No,
actually really
no,
spectacular. My
no.
cousin got married at Disney, and during that time period, Mickey and Minnie came to dance at the wedding. So it's a really cute experience. I'm glad
Wow.
he entertained something like that.
Right. So, and I wish, honestly, he would have. Unfortunately, he had a falling out with the soon-to-be fiance, and this was unbeknownst of me. I found out later through subpoenas and some records of her finding. But well, he gave her an ultimatum to, from what we allege, vacate the premises. He unfortunately went and was staying at his house, and something happened or conspired, but he ended up becoming unresponsive. The EMS came in and took him to the hospital, and it was just so happened that the brother, her brother-in-law, his brother, came to the hospital, and they asked what happened, and she so happily told the doctor previously that he fell down a flight of stairs. Unknowns for no me or anybody else except for the brother, who knew the residents, that they didn't have any stairs in their house. So that actually created a criminal investigation.
Wow.
And actually, when we went back to records, found out that they actually wasn't married. She forged a marriage certificate
Wow.
when he was recovering during COVID. So he did elicit some information to me that law enforcement asked in reference with subpoenas and legally giving them in reference to investigating criminal investigation. But I do believe she's at large now with a warrant for her arrest.
Oh my goodness.
So that one is kind of interesting. It happens. It happens.
And do you experience that where you're handling one issue, one legal issue, and it develops into something else, or they overlap, like with your firm?
I hear a lot. I hear a lot of things when someone unfortunately is meant to inherit something, and the grandmother's paying for the son, but the grandmother passed away, and we're doing that, and the son got a suspended license, but now grandma didn't have a will, and the property that she owns is homesteaded, so it has to be split. Then, some of the children don't get along, so again, we create a partition from that. So we do a lot of partition sales and saying that, hey, listen.
So like for someone that's, I'm an attorney as well, but for someone that doesn't understand legal terms, what's a partition?
A partition is a separation of ownership of a property that you all own jointly, and you get your share out. So the government generally doesn't force you to own property with someone if you both want out. So let's just say we both bought a property and we're doing great, and you're just like, hey, I want to be bought out, and you say no. You can actually go to an avenue of court and force a sale or buy out of your share of the property interest.
Great, so that's a partition.
Right.
One of the issues that you brought up earlier was the lady was still on the probate, or you had done some estate planning with him,
I did do some estate planning.
and his pending wife-to-be was part of that process, or no?
Yes, she was part of that process. She knew some, but towards the latter part, he didn't want her included in some of the assets. Some people might say that was a gold digger or had alternative motives. I can't really tell you mostly into that, but he started doing just a will with us, and then he realized that he wanted a power of attorney and some other stuff, and given his health benefits, his health decreasing, it was healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA release, and some stuff, which he gave that power to his brother because he entrusted them, and they created a trust part of that.
So do you do that in your law practice? Do you
Yes,
guys
we
do
do.
wills and estate
We do
planning
that.
in addition to probate?
Yes, we do
How
that.
do those things interface with each other?
Well, usually how the process goes is people create a will and make a decision on how certain things go with a power of attorney, and then as they progress through life and pass on, then it's probated to see, hey, what was not decided or resolved into where it goes. So a lot of times people fail to remember homes, or if they're homesteaded, then they get divvied to the spouse or to the descendant. But if you write in your will that you want someone to have something, then the court has to create a process to deliver that asset to that person. So that's kind of how the will gets created. And then sometimes we have certain things that go on for a long period of time, such as I want to keep a family house in the family. We might put that into a trust, and that gets monitored that way. But when the person passes, that's when we move over to probate.
Wonderful. And do you get a lot of clients that also need a trust?
Yes, we get a ton of clients that need trust.
Even like non-wealthy people?
Yes, and I really believe that it's important to have a trust if that fits your needs. Why I say that is because a lot of times we have people that have other obligations, such as a spouse they didn't want, or they get married late, or secondary.
A spouse they didn't want, Kevin?
Yeah, well, I mean, a spouse that they didn't want to entrust without a prenup or something like that. That's a good catch. But certain things like that require a trust to be set up for the family or something. Or some people say we have a legacy trust, such as this is going to stay within my family, this is a family home, and they entrust that trust to manage certain assets.
And it sounds expensive. Like, do you charge a lot, like when people ask for a trust?
We are very, very affordable, I think, but very comparative to the rates that other law firms charge throughout the states that we practice. And yeah, I don't think it's expensive at all. And we allow payment plans, and we do work with people. And in some cases, we do remote online notary, so we don't even have to actually meet one-on-one a lot of times. But we do make sure they're fully informed and discuss all their needs or questions at the time.
I just love your responses. It sounds like you're really passionate about it. How did you choose to focus on wills and estate planning?
Well, wills and estate planning was something that I just fell in love with right after law school, and I really understand like giving people their last respect and way to say where they want their stuff to go, which I think is important. Because I've seen a lot of times when people pass and they said, I just want my son to go to school, or I want my grandson to do something, they give that last $1,000 or $5,000 for a scholarship, or they give them for something to help benefit that person. It's the last good act a lot of times. Then I got crafted into making sure that that is followed all the way through, and that's how we now focus on probate. So probate is making sure that that promise is honored in writing.
And that's what you tell your clients when they come to you, that when they're creating the wills and estate planning and going through probate, when you plan, you actually can make sure that when you're no longer here, you can carry that out. You would agree with that?
I agree with that.
All right. So your background is also in policing, correct? And you
Law enforcement.
Law enforcement. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
always mess that up.
That's
And you
all.
also have a passion for flying planes, right?
A passion. I like to say I'm a pilot.
You're a pilot.
Small
Excuse
pilot,
me.
but I am
Yeah,
pilot.
and I
yes.
haven't been in that, and I haven't taken any flights with you yet. I'm not really sure that
working.
I'm ready for that.
Well, when I get a bigger plane, when my CPA says it's okay, we will definitely make sure we get you on a
Where are you
nice
gonna
little
fly
plane.
me to?
Where would you like to go? I'm a Caribbean person, so
Oh
anywhere
yeah,
in
you're from the Caribbean.
Yes, anything in the Caribbean would be
Are
probably
you gonna
great.
fly us to Jamaica for our next trip?
That sounds like a deal.
Okay,
Deal.
sounds good. Yeah, but you're police captain, which absolutely phenomenal. I think it's incredible considering that you're both an attorney and a police captain. How does that interface, like with your firm?
It really comes from the duty to serve and the duty of service. Again, law enforcement is what it is, enforce what the law is, and I think attorneys also do that. They play into the law and they try to do the best outcome for their clients and also what is applicable by law. So probate, again, that's what we do. We're filling out the people's last wishes. Law enforcement, we enforce what the law is. So they do play hand in hand in that kind of sense. And like I said, in the law enforcement now, I'm just overseeing accreditation process and so forth, so accountability and compliance. So in a way, they kind of do go one-on-one. Probate is overseeing the estate, making sure the will was and the wishes of that person was filled out, where they want to be buried, how they're being buried, who gets what there is, who's going to run the estate, such an executor or a personal representative. That's what we do.
I think that's beautiful. And I remember a couple of years back we used to do like wills seminar. Are you still doing that?
I do that upon request. So yeah,
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to go to some other areas that we service, such as Minnesota, North Dakota, Michigan. We go up there and give a little one-on-one, and I do work with police unions because I think our first responders are important to make sure that they have things taken care of at home too.
Okay, great. And I do have a brother that's a first responder, so I think that's wonderful. I'll send
And
him your way.
And I thank him for his service.
Yeah. So Kevin, how do you build and facilitate strong relationships and trust with your clients?
Oh, that is a good question. It is a never-ending, evolving situation to always do. And the reason I say that is post-COVID, it's changed a lot. A lot of times we used to have the brick and mortar, and we literally go out and we talk to people, we shake hands and all that stuff. Nowadays, we don't do that as much. We do that in limited situations, but we work with a lot of our stuff, and I realized the need of our firm and the people, unfortunately, for probate need a little bit more flexibility on online. So we do a lot of Zoom, a lot of mailings, a lot of that stuff, and a lot of remote stuff, what allows us to work a lot of it. Because again, one of our bases, Florida and some other areas, people come down and retire, and they're just because they're here, their kids are in Idaho, Nevada, California, Wisconsin. I've had people in Washington, the state of Washington, and they need to probate certain properties down here and so forth, and they would never be able to do that. They have to fly down here and do stuff. So building that rapport really starts from the minute you call our firm. We take care, we try to understand that you're a person, and rather than just a number or a case number that we're going to assign to it. So we really make sure we talk to them, understand what their needs, overall goal, and then try to give them a case overview of how the process works, and then work with them. And we always try to reassure them. We do faxes, emails, we do a portal.
Wow, faxes in 2025, huh?
Yes, we do. We
Okay.
do. So one interesting fact, medical professionals, they only receive a lot of stuff by fax a lot of times. So unfortunately, we always keep those avenues of however we can get stuff to us to help them, to make them feel comfortable with. And we even do text messaging and all that kind of system if our client allows that.
That's incredible. I know it's really important to keep in constant communication with clients through constant emails, texts, phone calls,
Yes.
and they appreciate that.
But it takes a personal touch that we do here at Blue Line Law Firm.
And I'm sure you're really good at that, Kevin, and your firm's team, correct?
Yes, it's not possible without my firm's team. From my accounting office all the way to my intake office and to my paralegals, they all do a fantastic job.
Do you have like a particular vision for the future for Blue Line Law Firm?
Honestly, yeah. I want to make probate not as scary and death not as scary to everyone. I want to make it seem like it's a necessary process, but not a fearful process. And I don't want people to dread it. It's kind of like, hey, I have to get up to go to work and I have to start my car. Work can be dreaded. I can't ever change that. But going and getting your car, I want that moment of quietness and that sense before you go into the chaotic areas to be a calm and great transition. So that's what we try to do here at Probate. We say, hey, listen, I can't tell you how your family's going to act. I can't tell you how many creditors are, but I want to know that we're going to be here through the process of it. And a lot of times when we get what we call the order of discharge or closing the probate, a lot of people say, thank you for being with us through this process.
How long do you think it usually takes, like, for probate? Like, if we're talking about from start to finish, someone finds out that their loved one has passed on, they've gone on to glory, as I like to call it. How long after they hire you before the process is concluded?
Okay. It really, really, really depends. Patrice, we get some that can be done in 3 to 4 months, and we get some that are 2 years.
Wow.
Unfortunately, the average is anywhere from about 8 to 13 months, generally, because of how the notices are. A lot of people, I'm glad you asked, because they want to know about that. Like a lot of times when you have siblings and all this stuff, we have certain things that have to get required notice. So we have to give them notice, mail it to them, and it's 20 days from the date that they receive it. So when we mail it out, maybe 3 days later, 23 days, and then we can move part of that process. But let's say you have one mother, she passed and she had 3 kids. We have to mail out letters to those 3 kids, and it's a date that the last one received it. So if the other one's in Wisconsin and the other one's right here in Florida, or the other one's in North Dakota, you know, it's if the North Dakota one received it on the 26th, we say 20 days for him, 20 days for other, and 20 days for other. So it varies from that 20 to 30 days, and then we can move on to the next stage. They have to be, and descendants have to be informed on the most crucial stages of the probate.
Okay.
So we're always filing out formal notices on stuff. Now they can waive that sometimes. They can waive that process by filling out an affidavit by notarized, but that's generally how the process works. Just get started. Then we appoint a personal representative. They have certain time to get all the inventory, go to the bank records, do all that stuff, and create a depository or put into our trust account for holding, pay all the creditors. Creditor period is already 90 days. It's 3 months we have to wait to see most of those stuff unless they're past, they've been deceased for over 2 years. So there's a lot of those kind of things that have to be done. I have a large estate that we're now going on over 1.5 years, and this person died in the Bahamas. It was a trust fund, and they have a little couple $1 million that has to be distinguished. And they had a lot of properties in New York, so you had to hire a New York attorney to deal with that kind of stuff. So it can take longer.
Okay, so notice is a big deal, creditors is a big deal, and it can take quite a bit of time.
And that's if no one contests it.
So if it's contested, it can drag out even further.
Exactly. So if you and your brother want to be PR of your parents passing or something, they can immediately, you can fight. No one says that he gets it over you.
Right.
You have to fight on it. So again, that's why it's important to have a will and to designate someone.
So how would you really describe, thank you so much for like explaining that, especially for people that aren't too familiar with the probate process here in Florida. There's always like a law culture, like a law firm culture. How would you describe yours at Blue Line?
Well, I can tell you right now, everyone in my firm loves me. I get no complaints. They think I'm just amazing.
Kevin, it's just us, and we actually know the truth of each other.
There you
So
go.
let's try this again.
All right.
How would you really describe the culture at Blue Line Law Firm?
Well, because on Fridays I pay them. They love me on Fridays, but every other day they do not like me.
No, but seriously, your firm is a very reputable firm, so quick with responses. You really care about client retention and making sure your clients are up to date on their files.
Right.
How do you explain the culture as it pertains to the employees or independent contractors that work with the firm or within the firm?
Well, we all work together. I tell them as treat it as though you're your own probate and put yourself in the client's shoes. I think that's having the client envision of how it feels
Okay.
It's really important for them to know, because when we look at things, we look at, unfortunately, death certificate, petitions, motions, orders, and all that stuff. A lot of times when we talk to people, that's their loved one. That's someone who they're past, and they're still getting over a lot of stuff. So I want to say, hey, listen, if they say they're busy and they need time, then ask them time. But just don't let them linger on and be like, hey, how about I check back with you in a week? How are you doing? So a lot of times I make them ask, and a lot of people, and I can tell you a lot of clients you talk to, I said, how are you doing? And they say, oh, I'm doing okay. And I'm like, let's try this again.
Right.
And it really wants it. And I think they take really good, understanding, and they really appreciate me asking how they're really doing. And I'm like, yeah, it's hard now. Because a lot of times, unfortunately, it's their loved one. They've been married for 20, 30 years, and their loved one's passed. Or their wife died suddenly in, unfortunately, a car accident or something. And they're like, I don't know how I'm doing this. I don't know. Like, the last thing they need to do is, oh, we need to go to court and this case number and this issue and this note. We try to simplify it and say, hey, we're working it. This is where we are. This is what it is. You go do what you need to do.
So you establish a lot of empathy in the work culture for
That's
the
correct.
clients and also for one another, I presume?
That's correct. All my contractors and employees, they all work together, and they all try to make it a very cohesive government. So we want to make sure that client gets the full best experience as possible through the thing.
Okay.
And in that process, I get to keep them happy, and I ask them their feelings. So like a lot of other firms, sometimes we give them a position, we don't ask them. I always ask them, how do we make this better? And what can I do to help you? And I think that's really makes a big difference.
That's wonderful, Kevin. Do you have any advice if someone is seeking your assistance for the first time on what documents they need to prepare for estate planning or for probate? I mean, they're rushing through and trying to figure out what's next. Someone just passed, or hopefully they're preparing for the future. What kind of documents do you need if you're coming to your office for the
Good
first
question.
time?
I would just say, call our office and fill out our intake form, or go online and fill out our intake form. That's the most important.
Okay.
That information has everything, and I'll tell you what that information includes. It includes who you are, your full name. What we hate is when you come here and say, hey, it's Bill Thomas, and if it's William Thomas, we need William Thomas. These are legal documents we're drafting.
Right.
We need to know their full name. We need to know their address, their date of birth. Those are the most important things, and the rest I can make wonders with. So once you tell me, yeah, I'm married, this is my wife's name, this is it, and I want to leave it to my kids, the rest, we can make it work. But I got to have your kid's name. I got to have this. Now, if there's something very particular that you want, please let me know that. And we have an additional page on all our documents. Say, tell me in short what you're looking for, or something what we need to pay attention to. And just write it. You don't need to worry about the legal wording and all that stuff. We'll do that to make sure it fits.
So it sounds like you've got a really good simplified process for a new client, right?
That is 100% correct. And we're working to fine tune it every day.
So much change. You mentioned COVID a little bit earlier with one of your clients. What's the biggest difference with how technology is used with the law firm pre-COVID versus right now?
I can tell you a lot more Zoom and a lot more Zoom meetings, and I can tell you a lot more remote notary. State of Florida and a lot of other states, we practice allow online notary, and it makes it a little bit easier. A lot of times when people can't leave the house or drive all the way to a law firm just to sign documents, we allow it. And I won't lie to you, me personally, it's up to the person, but I really like online notary because we get to ask a lot of questions. I mean, nothing's better to me, when we say, hey, someone signed a will, and you go back there and we're like, oh, they signed a will, we just have signatures, and that's good. The self-proven affidavit in the law firm, and everyone can attest to it. But nice is saying that, hey, I want to see a video of them signing, and they say, hey, do you understand? They're like, yeah, I understand. This is this, and they talk, and they say, oh yeah, and it's like, okay, this is so great. It makes me feel great that I did this. I really want to take care of my niece, and it's nice to see video. It's very compelling in court when we see online notary and they're giving this kind of stuff, and the person's like, no, I'm not competent. Yes, I have, unfortunately they have stage 3 cancer, but they're like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
No, there's not much you can do that.
It's not much to contest when you've got in-your-face video.
Exactly.
And
so it is new. It's a little bit different. We're all learning it, but online remote notary is really good. But it helps simplify and make things a lot more efficient.
That's incredible, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing. What are some of the misconceptions about probate and estate planning that you want to clarify?
For estate planning, that only is for the wealthy, and if I have nothing, I don't know.
Because that's something I hear all the time. Like, people are like, oh no, like we don't really have anything to protect. I don't need to have a will. I don't need to prepare for the future. If someone isn't very wealthy, like they're not a millionaire, how do you tell them that they still need to plan for the death of a loved one or for themselves?
That's 100%. I got a call early this morning on something very similar to that. And what I tell people is they called me. It was someone who unfortunately died in a car accident, and it was their daughter that died in a car accident.
How old was she?
She was 31 years old.
Wow.
31 years old, and her daughter died in a car accident, and they were hit by a tractor trailer.
Oh my God.
And I had to figure out how do we get it? How do we sue the tractor trailer company and all this other stuff? And guess what? You got to have probate. There's no will. Well, and guess what? She was in a fiance, and he gets nothing legally. He gets nothing. But she could have left the will.
Were they living together?
Yes, they were living together.
Do they have any kids?
No kids. So a lot of times when you have those things, that fiance is left out without a will. But he didn't have to be you only get it if you become married. But even before then, you can literally go in there and say, hey, I want to leave something to someone, paying my marriage or whatever it is, and leave something in there. But no will, no nothing, and everything goes to the parents. But the parents can't do anything because they have to open probate and be appointed the executor. So a lot of times people say, hey, what was this? That we would have not known what happened. Those are the kind of things that are important. And part of every good estate planning program is the power of attorney and healthcare surrogate, a living will. So making sure whether she gets pulled off life support or not life support, she receives blood, not blood, those stuff were undecided and unknown. Because I do believe, again, some people in Florida may remember Terry Schiavo, and understanding the difference between a spouse and the parents, biological parents, making those kind of decisions. So that's why I say estate planning, it's very important that you always look at that kind of stuff. For probate, everyone thinks it's going to be nice and easy and quick. They really forget about the notices and the process of getting notified and going through a lot of contesting. Because you really don't know anyone until you file probate and then realize they got a lot of debts, or a lot of people putting claims against the lien. Right. And a lot of times we get a lot of stuff from the healthcare administration. I got one the other day for $116,000 the state of Florida wanted back for medical expenses.
So again, and I really love this because I think we're sharing a lot about what people don't expect. I mean, no one expects to pass away at 31. It's young. Exactly. Right? And then when you're engaged, you're about to start your life with someone. So you're in love with that person. Of course you want to leave them something, right? Right. And if you don't have your documentation in order, and what are those documents again that we should tell people that they need? Well,
that is our Power 5. Blue Line Law Firm's Power 5.
Okay.
No, joking. It's the last will, the living will, the HIPAA release, the healthcare surrogate, and the power attorney.
Okay. So everyone, no matter where they are financially, should have those documents.
Those are, right? Yes. Because a lot of times we won't lie. I definitely, for the elderly, a lot of times we get parents that get older, and all of a sudden they have dementia and you can't realize, and then they get Baker acted or held in a hospital because they had stage 4 dementia. They don't know all the time. Well, guess what? You have guardianship now. You have to open, and now they have to vet who's going to do what. But if you had a power of attorney, that helps simplify the process. Saying, hey, if something was to happen to me, if I become incapacitated, this is the person I wanted to help me.
Who should I have be my power of attorney? So for example, if you're not married, maybe you have a very strained relationship with parents. Who do I have as my power of attorney? Who's going to have access to these documents?
Well, my question goes, sounds like attorney-client privilege we're talking here, but my question goes to, who do you trust? Okay. You get to pick, and you don't have to pick one person.
Oh,
you can
really?
pick 2 people, and I even create power attorneys where it says that for you to act, or upon your acting or appointment, you have to give notification to these living people or something else. So it's a self-checking kind of document. So
and I record it in any dockets?
You can, but it's not required.
Okay.
Sometimes when you do certain things like transfer of properties for housing or mortgage people, the brokers may require it to be recorded. So that's something that you have to do. If you're going to open a guardianship, the court may require you to record the power of attorney or something like that, but that's not recorded.
It's not standard. It's not typical.
It's not standard.
Okay. And so estate planning and probate work in tandem because you need those documents when you're preparing for your death, right? And so your loved ones have a good idea as to what your wishes are. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's absolutely correct.
And how long does it usually take when you're preparing those documents? Like when someone comes into your office, they fill out the paperwork, they have their legal name, they have their date of birth for the children. How long does that usually take, Kevin, for you to
If they have everything together,
Yes.
I can do almost a 48 to 72 hour flip around.
Wow, that quick,
That's pretty quick.
Okay.
But that's never the case. Okay. So most of the time they want to ask questions, they want to look at the documents, and what I do is I always push it back to the client to really get a PDF copy for our case management system,
Okay.
and download it and send it to family members. Let other people know.
Okay.
We're not the only people in legal that they know. They probably know someone who's a paralegal. They probably know someone, a family member who's a doctor. Let them look at the living will. Let them look at the healthcare power attorney. Let them talk about it. Nothing's worse than giving power attorney to your daughter and then she didn't even know it exists or know what the form is.
Right.
So we automatically give you a hard copy when you execute one with us and give you an electronic copy that we save.
That's incredible. Is there anything we really haven't covered that you want to talk about?
Everyone always asks me, I'm trying to think of the frequently asked questions such as, can I ever avoid probate? Generally, you can always reduce it, but you can never really fully avoid it.
Okay.
Even with a trust, we still file what we call a notice of trust, saying that, hey, there's a trust that involved, it goes in here. So that gets a case number, but again, that doesn't mean it has to be fully probate, but that's a probate process.
Is it quicker though if you have a trust?
So
it's a lot. So I'm not looking at that 18
Yes.
to 24 months.
That's correct. And the reason is that you got to look at a lot of things that happen, such as making sure that everything that you put in the trust is in the trust. A lot of times people will have a car that they never put in the trust. Well, someone, you have to probate that little small asset to put into the trust, okay, or sell it off. So those are the little things we have to do.
Okay.
The next problem is people always say, I don't want to put my children or someone on a joint bank account and they have access to it. A lot of banks, and you have to go and ask, they have what they call beneficiary form, which is a POD or TOD, which is payable upon death or transfer upon death. And you can get access to the bank account when the person is known and certified to be passed on. So those are the little things that happen. And most importantly, update your life insurance policies if you get
How often
divorced.
should I do that?
You don't have to update them often, but you have to review them.
Okay.
At least review them every year and a half. Just make sure that the person on there that you're leaving to hasn't passed on. It's not a previous spouse. It's not all these other issues that come up.
Okay.
So that's very important.
That's incredible. You've just shared a wealth of knowledge today, and I really appreciate you talking.
I appreciate it.
Talking
And I
about
appreciate you asking the hard questions. It's good.
All right, perfect.